Be silent, shut off your cell phones, and join me in the pledge, please. I pledge
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Leaving so soon, Kevin?
Yeah, I'm behind on stuff at work.
How much time you got left?
May 27th is my last day.
Where are you going?
California. I accepted a reporter job down there.
You're going down to the evil country.
I'm going back to be closer to my family.
Oh, well, good for you.
We'll see you, Kevin.
Later.
Thanks.
Good morning, Sheriff Taylor.
Good morning.
Did you have something special you want to talk about, or you just
He was an
joining?
addition.
Huh?
He's an addition.
Search and rescue facility on the north end of county.
Yes.
Read that. Sorry,
That's okay.
go ahead.
I don't have a whole lot of information to offer. I needed to talk to a couple people to get prices for you, just give you a kind of a rough idea of what we were looking at. But we had discussed this in the past about building a search and rescue facility up in North Lake. And all that would entail was just a building, an empty building, and a cyclone fence with the concertina wire on the outside. I was going to get with Dave Berman and get some prices for you. He's not here right now, he's out at the landfill. And if I remember correctly, I think all the commissioners were in favor of doing that. I just hadn't provided a cost yet. I still don't have that information. But I just wanted to get a dialogue going, because I would like to get that going. We have a lot of equipment down here, so not so much, but we have equipment that we're not storing, it's sitting outside. I'd like to transition that equipment from down here in Lakeview up to North Lake. And the reason being is because if we have, the majority of our search and rescue missions are up in North Lake. And it takes, I'm just estimating, maybe 3 or 4 hours to get everybody coordinated, get the equipment transferred up there and conduct a search. And when we're talking people's lives, you know, minutes are sometimes the difference between life and death. So I would like to get that going and just get some input. If you guys could just tell me what you need to make a decision or on what you would need to approve that, I can start working on that. I know we just built the ambulance barn up there that we were storing equipment in, and then they got frustrated because they said they didn't have enough room up there. It was a bus barn or something.
It was a bus barn.
Bus barn. So
Do we have the property to put the building?
yes, we do. We have several different locations. We can do it up at Fort Rock area, or we can do it down in Christmas Valley area. We have a choice to make. I mean, and I think what would be probably advantageous to the North Lake community is what is the midway point of South Lake and North Lake. Well, that would be, I didn't describe that very well, is in North Lake area, what would be the fastest destination to reach North Lake from one, point A to point B. And I think that it would be Christmas Valley, wouldn't it?
Yeah, that's what I was just thinking.
Yeah, it's on the road department's property. I talked to Kevin Hawk, he says you guys can have some property out there, just and so we don't have to buy anything. It's right there locally, it's accessible. It would benefit the North Lake community.
So are you gonna build it big enough to store the old snowcat in? So it's out of the weather?
I don't know if the snowcat is needs to be stored, but the side-by-sides, snowmobiles, and that kind of equipment, the trailers and such, need to be stored. The snowcat as far as I know, has been exposed to the elements, as long as we've had it. We've never stored it. And the new snowcat that we have right now, I don't think that is going to be stored as well. So to answer your question, we could, if we build a big enough facility, certainly we could do that.
All I know is the sun is really hard on those snowcat tracks, and so.
It would be really nice to build something that was capable of storing a snowcat, just for future use and everything. If we're going to make the investment, we might as well make it worthwhile.
And if you had a place where you could plug it in, so it's, not cold starting every time, and
Yeah, in a facility, things last a lot longer and are preserved by the weather. That certainly is an advantage to having a big enough facility. So what do the commissioners need to make a decision on this? Just pricing?
yeah, I'd want like how big a square footage you're gonna want of the building and the price of the building.
Yeah.
I'm sure it'll be all metal. I doubt if I don't know, will you need electricity? Cause that'll increase the price, sewer.
No, we wouldn't need sewer. I'm not talking about a facility like we have here at Search and Rescue where you have a media room. It's just be a building. We'd need some power to plug in the snowcat lights at night, but that would be it. We wouldn't need any kind of restroom facility, I don't believe.
But there's already power at the road department.
Yeah.
So, if we build another building there off to the side where they have their road department building, I think that wouldn't be a big problem.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So I was hoping to have that information for you.
I mean, engineer drawings, you're gonna need that, and we're gonna need to submit RFPs in order to put out for, bid on contracting and construction of the building.
I'm sure it's gonna be all steel building, probably the cheapest way.
I would anticipate that would be the way to go. That'll last forever, unless the wind blows the roofing off.
Copy that.
Okay. I'll get with Dave. Like I said, they just built that or contracted with somebody and built that bus barn or ambulance barn or something.
I think that was through an ODOT grant, wasn't it? Those were ODOT dollars primarily that built that.
5310 federal dollars.
Do you know what the price of that was
84,000,
for the building?
I believe so.
No fence or anything, just building alone?
Mm-hmm.
And what did the building consist of? Did it have restrooms
Nope.
and just the building itself?
Just the building.
Okay.
And that was before the prices went skyrocketing.
Yeah.
So. But it is what it is.
Well, we may, even if we did this in the state, it's got the fence up and could get some equipment up there, and it's being stored out in the elements right now. We don't have storage, so if we can get a fence up first and then get it done, at least we'd have the equipment up there ready to go.
Right. Well, that lot there where the road department is significant in size. There's lots of unused space
Yes.
on that lot. So,
And Kevin has been very generous in offering us that space there, so. Okay, well, thank you, gentlemen.
All right, thank you.
thank you.
Since I grabbed my wrong one, is there any other additions?
Just that one.
Any deletions?
Are you guys looking for a grant to help pay for that?
We, Daniel has talked to the grant lady.
Oh, Shannon. Okay.
You're up, Miss Ann.
Wait. Okay, great. So, House Bill 2174 was passed in the state legislative process last spring, sponsored by our friend Mark Owens. And I want to just take a moment to go through what this House bill helps counties accomplish. The House bill states that counties could set aside federal forest payments into a special district account coordinated with Oregon DAS and the local government investment pool, which then allows the state to report our prior federal year payments to the Department of Interior for the PILT calculation a little bit differently. So the payment in lieu of tax looks at 3 different factors in payment. Number 1, it looks at number of federal acres, entitlement acres in your county border. It looks at your population, and it looks at prior federal year payments that are general purpose in nature, or just to the county for county services. The population factor becomes a ceiling. And so no matter your federal acres or your prior federal year payment, your population is a ceiling. So for us in 2021, our population ceiling was $1,266,080. And that is based on an $8,000 people population cap. There's two formulas that PILT looks at to pay. The first one is called Alternative A, which looks at paying each county $2.87 an acre less the prior year payment, federal payments capped by population. For us, when we use that population cap and subtract our prior federal year payment, we actually go negative. It's like we get more in prior federal year payment than we do in the population cap. So it kicks us over to what they call B-side counties, which is then 41 cents per acre, and you disregard your prior federal year payment. Still capped by population.
But it's not a factor.
But the prior
The prior
federal
year.
year payment is not a factor. So for Lake County and Harney County in Oregon, the idea is setting up a separate account at the state level for forest receipt dollars for this purpose doesn't help us. Now down the road, I don't know. But as it stands right now, our PILT payment would not change, would not increase, would not change at all
Because of the population cap.
because of the population cap. It does benefit several counties.
And that's why I believe Representative Owen
Yes.
proposed this bill, was to help some of those other counties.
What
So-
will happen though is the very first year, like if let's say a lot of counties take this into consideration, they enact it and they do the administrative work to get it done, which isn't really that much. It decreases the federal payment, the prior federal payment for Oregon, well, and nationally, and then increases what their PILT payment should be. But if Congress doesn't fully appropriate it, they might not see a benefit anyway.
Right,
So there's several factors that come into play here. A lot of states do implement something like this, especially for mineral, oil, coal,
right.
those leases. They create special districts for those payments to get kind of siphoned away from what they would call county payments to protect their PILT payment. For us, it's not beneficial yet. Like I said, I'm not sure what will happen over time.
So are you saying we should open the uranium mine again? Sorry, I'm just,
I don't know what the county, I don't
no,
know what the county actually received on any kind of lease off of that
any
deal.
kind of those mineral leases or anything like
Yeah,
that.
I don't know. In talking about this though, I want to talk also about secure rural schools and that calculation, and then roll up into the local assistance fund and how that's being calculated. Because it's a good opportunity to talk about all 3 of these federal programs. the Secure Rural Schools payment, we were notified that it would increase the appropriation level back to federal fiscal year 2017, which is the payment we received in the spring of 2018. That is what we used for estimates for this payment that we just received. While the appropriation was the 2017 level, our county did not receive the amount for that federal fiscal year 2017. It's about $165,000 less. And one of the factors that is used when they're calculating secure rural schools is what they call, they calculate each county's income adjustment by dividing the per capita personal income in each county by the median per capita personal income in all eligible counties. So they're trying to support needier counties, and then counties that are doing well, they're trying to moderate that. This calculation they used this year was based on 2020. 2020 was the start of COVID, but also the catastrophic wildfires in Oregon. So Lake County's per capita personal income in 2020 was higher than the median for us for that year. So that's why we saw that decrease. It didn't make AOC's estimate. I didn't even, it wasn't even on my radar that would come through that way. So now let's talk about the local assistance fund. The first calculation they were using was the PILT formula, was looking at just $1 per acre, but capped at $5 million. And the amount of money they allocated, which was $2 billion, was going to be able to fund that. What it did with the 5 million, so we were looking at 3.7 million. Okay, so our almost 3.7 million acres, we were looking at $3.7 million. But the way they make that fair across the nation is they cap it at $5 million so that Alaska doesn't suck away everything on those allocations. That was accepted by the Western Interstate Region of Governors and NACO and Treasury. Everyone said, okay, we agree to this. So now at this point, so it maintained a PILT-like formula, which was helpful. The original legislation that, I'm gonna say Wyden. The original legislation that he proposed included more of the secure rural schools calculations. So there was a socioeconomic factor built into it, okay? But over time, as the legislation morphed and got approved, it was more simple to just go, Treasury's going to agree to a formula. They used NACO's help and county's help to get to that formula. So I like that. We've been talking about how much more fair it is just to pay us on the acres we have.
Right.
End of story. Let's not, it's reasonable to cap it by population. Okay, that makes sense. But to look at what has been harvested or mined or used in prior years and how you're getting paid for that and where you're putting it and where you're not putting it, and then putting in a socioeconomic factor makes it very complicated for everybody to understand what is actually happening. For years, we've had representatives think that we got $2.87 per acre for our lands.
Right.
We're like, we would love that. You would never hear from us again.
Yeah, but
that is not the case. We don't even get $1 per acre. We don't even get the 41 cents per acre on the PILT formula.
Right.
Because of our population cap. So where the local assistance fund is sitting right now, according to Todd Devlin in Montana, he's been a great resource and is actually very knowledgeable on all these formulas. Treasury is deciding, Treasury likes the formula. They're kind of buying off on that. They approved it, but now they need Congress to step up totally define what an SRS and PILT county is, because the legislation states it's there to support those counties that are reliant on SRS and PILT. So Treasury is not involved in either one of those payments. They don't know what that means. But as it sits in Congress waiting for that definition, there are more dollars needed in other areas. And so the allocation has been reduced. And we did build that in, a reduced allocation on the local assistance fund. We need Congress to gavel down on that as soon as possible so that it doesn't get touched anymore. That's where that is. The local assistance fund was in a lot of counties' mind a really, really good solution for both secure rural schools and PILT payments going forward. So that's why I'm talking about it. It has the potential to replace both of those programs as long as it's like mandatory spending in Congress and funded like they've talked about through the Land and Conservation Act. So, and counties agreed to it. So all across the board, because it both was not just forested counties. So you're combining, the forested counties, the federal land counties that mean you don't receive any harvest. And it was a little bit more simplified, just per acre based. So moving forward, we'll see what happens with it. I just wanted to give that overall update all across the board.
Well, it's really good information, and I think it's good for the public to have that information too, so they have a better understanding of why these dollars, actually been reduced.
And then I should clarify too, for public information, the payment in lieu of tax, based on our federal acres that is paid through the Department of Interior, is for general government purposes. So, it's very open. Secure rural schools, is for roads and schools, and then every state decides what that percentage is. So in Oregon, we say 75% for roads, 25% for schools. That is not the case in every state.
Right.
So, and then there is, when the Secure Rural Schools legislation came through, the Title III and the RAC programs that are funded as well. Okay. The Local Assistance Fund, when it was approved in legislation, opened back up to general government purposes with a reporting feature so that Treasury can see how those dollars are spent.
So, Ann, one question I do have is, we had a reduction in payment because they said that we were above median income.
Yeah, so our,
Where did they get that information?
the per capita personal income data, I'm not sure, because they get that data every year, so it's not a census issue. They look at that data every year. I don't know if it comes through the IRS or if it comes through, I'm not exactly sure. I can look at that and see where it's
The
coming
reason
from.
I'm saying that is, as you know, we just had the Portland State University study done in North Lake.
Mhm.
And, let's see, 54.2% were below the median income. And so that's a study that we just had done this year. And so for them to say that we've made more on the north end wouldn't be correct. And so I just want to see where they got that information, because our own study was done saying that we're 54.2% in that area.
I'll follow up, because this is county-wide. They may even look at it a little bit larger areas and kind of extrapolate down. I'm not sure how detailed they get, other than I can see on the calculation and the reports they put out for secure rural schools, that down in the bottom, it'll say the 2017, and they call it PCPI data was used. Or they'll say 2019, this payment showed a 2020. And so they are looking at each county by the median per capita personal income and then square the results. So they are even looking against like how nationally,
Mhm.
you know, so if nationally a lot of counties went backwards and we just maintained, then according to this statistic, those other counties that went backwards a little bit get a little bit more help.
Well, and they didn't even say that Christmas Valley, like the north end of our county or anything, that their percentage wasn't based on what percentage of our population was below that income level. Because for all we know, before PSU did that survey, it could have been lower than that several years ago. And so now PSU has come in and they've done that, and it's still below what we'd like to see, you know, for a healthy community. But potentially it could have actually gone up, and that's what they're saying, is that it's only gone up just a little bit, but it's.
Yep, so this is per capita personal income, county, they're looking at county-wide, not zip code data.
Well,
I'll double check and see where they're finding that statistic.
but to that point, if they're getting that statistic from somewhere, that means they have that data, which would have saved us a whole lot of trouble per se, you know, if we at least had data that we could use for our county.
Mhm.
Even if they're not, you know, centering in on individual districts, it would be nice to.
See where they got that.
All right, Ann.
Any other questions?
Well, thank you, really appreciate it. We talked about this before. I know that you've had a chance to talk with pretty much all the commissioners, but this is good information to have in our public meetings and for recordings to go out to the public to see and just have a better understanding of these things.
I was looking at another county, and I think it's in your packet there, just out of curiosity, like what another county can do.
Mm.
So I put Crook County in there as your
Mhm.
example. Their population ceiling is 2.4. So disregarding prior federal year payments, they would get that cap and increase their payment by almost $1 million. But that leads me to that discussion of, if Congress doesn't appropriate more money all across the nation, that's probably not what it'll end up being. If they allocate the same amount or just a little bit of an inflation factor, then the fully appropriated amount gets funded maybe like 95%, so everybody sees a little bit of a reduction of what their payment is. All right, I will look at that data. I'll give it to you guys to see where they got that, just for information purposes.
Thank you.
Sounds good. Thank you.
So we're moving on to the VFW Flag Support. The VFW Lane Clifton Post 4070 is asking for a $25 donation for their flags to be put up during special holidays.
And they have 2 flags.
Let's see.
Or is it just one?
2 flags.
Or maybe they're just asking for $25 per year. Maybe this is for a 2-year period.
25.
Well, I have a note at the bottom of my sheet that says 2 flags, $50.
Go ahead.
Sorry.
Yeah, it's for $50. It's for 2 flags on the highway.
Okay.
Copy that. Work on that tomorrow. Professional service agreement with Page Solely for county council. Just perfect timing.
There.
I saw Ann leave. Is now a good time?
That was the
Okay.
best time.
We're on it.
Great, thank you. So, I think we have a good contract here for a new county council, Paige Solely. The only change that we made since the first draft of that was for her travel costs. So, her travel would be compensated at $75 an hour while driving, but then meals and lodging would be borne her responsibility. Any questions or concerns about the contract? Okay. Well, we'd like to get going. We got people lined up with a long list of things we could use her for, so.
And there's a termination clause?
There it's 30 days, and I think you're gonna like working with her.
Well, I was gonna bring it up.
Yeah, I see it, it's sitting here, I'm being a smart aleck, but yeah.
Yeah.
30 calendar days, written notice by either party to the other intent to terminate.
Yeah,
And thank you for all your work on that. I know
Yeah.
everybody's been working hard for this. And so, do I hear a motion so we can get this rolling?
Yeah, I just wanna say real quick, I mean, it's not even just the 30 days, there's several ways that we can terminate this, immediately, actually,
Right.
if there is a breach of contract.
Yep.
And I think this is
Right.
really well put together, I appreciate all the work that went into it. And I know Commissioner Schulenberger's worked really hard on this also, and so I just wanna give kudos to him. This has been a long process, so, I'll go ahead and make a motion to approve the personal professional service agreement with Paige Sully, to be the new legal counsel for Lake County.
I'll second. Is there further discussion on this? Nothing else, Jay?
Nope.
Oh, one of the things I was gonna ask, when are we gonna all meet together at one time and go through this?
yeah, that's still part of the plan, but she would like to work through this backlog first, because there's gonna be a lot of things that she's gotta get through. So if we can do that first, that would be her preference.
And so,
What do we wanna put on our plate first?
So
and
I
the
got-
thing is that are we going to keep it the same as far as our department heads can contact her?
Yeah,
For what I think should happen though, Jay, is whether they CC you on each one of their emails. I think somebody needs to be in the loop on every
A liaison,
conversation.
just a commissioner liaison, I think would be nice, at least on the initial,
Okay.
in the same way we do, work orders. I think there needs to be some sort of a paper trail,
okay.
a little bit on that, just an overview for the commissioner liaisons with department heads. to reach out.
So she's asked for this kind of thing from us, and you commissioners have responded to me with a list of priorities, things that need to be worked on immediately. So I've got that. She's also asked for a list of people who are authorized to go to her directly. And so I'll provide that to her also. And then what I've told some of these departments who have urgent needs, building and planning, you commissioners, there's one other, I can't think of it right now.
Well, I mean, the clerk's office, and there's,
Usually everybody has something.
Well, there's,
yeah,
I guess
building
this,
and planning for sure.
we're gonna need to evict someone here soon too, so that's what it was.
Okay, but that was.
And I was
for the
thinking that
planning.
was the assessor's office, but
Yes,
it's probably not.
planning.
Anyway, I will do that, and then I was going to make introductions, get schedule times to meet initially, just so they can talk about how this is gonna work, and then they can start sending information and work to her. So I would do that this week.
Sounds good.
So don't leave all in favor, because I'll
Yeah.
throw this in.
Motion's on the table, okay.
So all in favor of hiring Paige Sully as our legal counsel, say aye,
And approving this contract.
and approving the legal contract. Thank you.
Aye.
Aye.
Okay.
Now then.
Okay.
Before us right now is the motion to dismiss the LUBA appeal before the LUBA for Obsidian and Morehouse Solar. I don't wanna make this decision until Paige Sully looks this over and gives us the green light.
So maybe this should be the very first thing on our radar, so that we
Okay.
have some sort of a recommendation from her before tomorrow.
Okay.
Because it spooks me to do anything like this, because what gets me is that Obsidian's legal counsel was the one that brought this forward. I don't wanna act on something without our legal counsel being part of it.
So there's a small problem with that because, so they approached Darwin and I about a month ago to ask if they could lift this stay that we didn't even know was put in place. We're like, oh,
The stay on,
Obsidian. Like, we were not notified that this happened.
But we
And I
weren't
am-
notified that the
Sorry.
former legal counsel basically filed this.
so, okay, so, well, let me get this square. So, our former legal counsel put a stay on this one also.
Correct.
Yes.
Okay, so I didn't know that.
Since now,
I didn't know that he put,
go ahead.
wait just a minute, I'll get to you. I knew he put a stay on another one
Yes,
without our permission.
yes.
I didn't know about this one, that he put a stay on this one, until right now. So go ahead. Do you, I
Well,
didn't
yeah,
know
sorry, I was interrupted. I was trying to explain the whole scenario. So they asked if we could lift this, they said, we will have legal counsel for a while, and then she said, okay, well, let me know. And then they were still hoping to proceed because they can't proceed because of this arbitrary motion, even though FSEC's already ruled that it in favor of it. So even though it's a LUBA, it's trumped by FSEC. And I do not have the wherewithal to form this dismissal myself, and we didn't have anyone to do it. And so she asked if you guys were in favor, and so I went to each one of your offices and asked if it was fine and we could ratify it, and you all said yes.
I didn't say yes. I said I wanna know by legal counsel if we can do this.
Well, that's my mistake then, because I
No,
thought you were in
that's fine.
favor of lifting the stay.
Well, I'm in favor of lifting the stay. I have no problem. I just don't wanna get us in a pickle.
And
With
I
legal
get that.
I don't have a problem lifting it if it's legal.
Well, I've
But
already,
I didn't know, I guess I had missed the Jim Bailey putting a stay on this one too without.
There was an email that Melanie sent out also with this prior to she coming to our offices and she handing it to us. And
I'm
I had
sorry,
actually
that's
forgotten
my
about
fault.
the email when she brought this to our attention again.
I guess it went over my head. I apologize because I did not know this.
You
All
might
right,
have been
all right.
getting confused about the other stay
Yeah.
and wanting to dismiss that one.
It could have been, but, and I apologize, Melanie, because more than likely it went over my head. Because
It's okay.
this fires me up.
What are the chances we had 2 stays put in place by our
Legal
attorney if
counsel.
we didn't know about?
Yeah, without us ever being notified.
Yeah.
Anyways,
So,
if she can clear this up, if she's good with this lifting the stay, I have no problem. Whatever her decision is, I just don't wanna take this step without,
we've already, through your guys' consensus, they filed this motion already. with
Yeah.
Luba.
So this motion is just to remove the stay.
Yes,
Okay.
Yeah.
this is just for ratification because I'd spoken to you guys and I'm sorry.
Yeah, this is a motion to dismiss the stay that was put into place without our approval by our former legal counsel.
and so this is ratification.
Ratification because we've
Well, it doesn't
already
matter
had
if I
given
put on my
consensus.
head or not, if the other two guys did it. The problem is that, and I'm not throwing you
No,
guys
I know,
under
I
this,
know, I
it's
hear you.
me being confused about,
It's
I didn't
okay.
know there's 2 stays. Anyways, can you have her just verify this is cool?
Will do.
So, I wonder if we should enact on this today.
Well, in terms of ratification,
Yeah, because it's probably time sensitive. And so I guess I'm fine with it as long as Paige Sully is fine with it.
Okay,
make it cleaner, just to act on it today, being that we've already all given consensus, even though you may have had some original confusion over it. And I admit, and I apologize, Melanie, for cutting you off. I was trying to help because I could see there was some confusion on this. When Melanie first brought this, when she brought it to me in person, she had the sheet of paper and I saw this. I remember looking at the obsidian piece and I thought to myself, oh, that's right, there's 2 of them. And so I think that's probably where you were getting confused, is just thinking about the original stay from another application.
Yeah, my apologies, Mel, too. It went over my head. So
so
you wanna make a motion to, I'll hear a motion.
I'll make a motion to ratify the original decision by the Board of Commissioners to dismiss the stay on the Obsidian Solar Center application for Morehouse Solar.
Okay, so
I think I captured that right.
I'm going to,
You want to amend that?
I'm going to, let me go ahead and second it and then I wanna
Okay,
amend it.
go.
Because,
If you'd like, I can redo my motion.
well, the part of the motion that I didn't like is the commissioner's decision.
That's what I
This was-
kind of figured. I was checking with you to make sure that you were all right with the motion. You go, you want to
So-
second the motion, discussion,
With amendment.
and I'll amend my motion. How do I say this? I'll make a motion to approve the ratification of the motion to dismiss Obsidian Solar Center LLC, Morehouse Solar Center. The stay on the Obsidian Solar Center, Morehouse Solar Center. Do I have to restate that again?
So, just to be clear, the stay wasn't made by the commissioners.
It was not, it was made by the Commissioner's legal counsel
Without our knowledge.
without the Commissioner's knowledge.
The previous council. And
Correct.
so, I don't know how you wanna stay, I'm still not
all right.
good with the third amendment.
All right, third amendment. This is why it's nice to be chair, you don't have to make up the motions. Motion to ratify the motion to ratify the dismissal of the stay on Obsidian Solar Center, Morehouse Solar Center, put in place by the previous Lake County Legal Counsel without the Commissioner's knowledge.
Second.
Perfect.
And so, that's been done. Any further discussion?
I sure as heck hope not.
So,
I think, while we're having further discussion, I will just say, yes, Jay, please run this past the new legal counsel and make sure that we can get something to both Commissioner Albertson, myself, and Commissioner Schulenberger, so we can loop everyone in on, you know, the crazy motion that I was able to conjure up today. And just the position of where the board's at.
Okay.
I appreciate that.
Alright, thank you.
And just to be clear, the previous legal counsel put 2 stays on solar, 2 different solars
Application.
applications without the commissioner's knowledge. Just to be clear. And no, I
Thank you.
apologize again for any.
You bet. Thank you, Jay. Appreciate it.
Thank you guys for that and getting me squared away.
That was 2 ayes,
Pardon me?
2 ayes.
Who's 2 ayes? Aye. Yeah, did I not say aye? Aye.
I don't know if I even asked for that.
Well, I made the motion and you seconded, so it has to be.
So motion passed.
Yep.
Christmas Valley Water District Income Survey Summary Report.
Chair, if you wanna have any discussion on this today, I'm more than happy, but just for the sake of time, we could, I believe, Erica from the Christmas Valley Water District will be there tomorrow in Silver Lake, and I think she wants to, you know, be
Copy that.
present for some of this discussion.
Works good for me.
Okay.
Broadband Action Advisory Applications. So, how many people do we want to have on advisory board? You know,
All of these people have been participating
already?
already.
Yes.
According,
Oh, go ahead.
so according to county policy, it has to be advertised though for 3 weeks before you guys can make a decision. So I did that, and these are the people who have submitted, even though it was open to the public, no one from the public has submitted an application.
So can we accept these? As the, I guess has the 3-week time period gone up so we can vote on these now?
Technically 4.
Okay.
Mhm.
So we can vote on these tomorrow. Okay. Do we have any discussion on it?
Nope. Was there any recommendation from Commissioner Schulenberger on any of these? Is good with all of these?
Mrs. Lisley, you must speak about the Canon lease agreement.
Sure. So I've presented the contract for our RICO that is about 10 years old. There are some jobs that I can't do on it anymore because of its limitations, so I have to be on the haul and use the other one, which isn't the end of the world, but it'd be nice for workflow to be able to do everything on one machine. The lease will be for $69.91 per month plus maintenance. So I'm anticipating about a $500 per year savings plus an upgrade.
That's kind of a no-brainer then.
Sounds good.
Will you show me how to run it? I will now. You guys know how I am with technology. Commissioner, do you wanna do any liaison updates?
Well,
Since we have a time item at 10.
okay, yeah, they don't have There's nothing else, that's it, huh? Stacy Gainey is working hard on the election process, trying to stay out of her way. She's had an influx of some people that would like to be precinct committee people in the county that are coming in at the last minute and filing. So their names won't be on the ballots, but they're trying to do write-ins for everyone. It's a little frustrating, I think, when PCPs from either party want to be on the ballot. It creates a lot of extra work for the clerk, and validating all the signatures and the names, spellings of them, and how people spell their other people's names to be those precinct people. Counting all those votes creates a lot of extra work for the clerk, and a little frustrating, I think, for her. The assessor's office, we've had an interesting week. I will say that the land sale did really well. $300,000 that came in on that. Most of the properties actually sold for at or above or just at real market value. A number of properties sold for quite a bit more. There was a number of bidding wars that folks got into. However, we did have 2 of the properties that did not have structures on them did not sell. The 2 of the properties that had structures on them did not sell. Excuse me. So, but we do have an eviction on one of those properties that we're going to need to follow up with, and I think that legal counsel should be helping us through that process.
I think we all may have had that on our request for new legal counsel.
Yeah. I think it would help our department heads a lot to have good legal counsel working with our sheriff's office on these eviction notices and the whole process in general.
I think the whole planning process will be better too,
Yeah,
because
on appeals, so forth. The we have several, I'll jump over right here in front of me, EMS, the 4 ASAs in the county, several of them have put in for a variance request. I reached out to all the different ASAs though, and the others will likely be pursuing a variance request at some point in the near future. I believe the director of ASA number 4, here in Lakeview, he was out of town last week, so he wasn't able to get his application in for a variance request, but they'd still like to do it. They will have a paramedic on board most of their calls, but just in case they ever end up having to make a run, say out in the Warner Valley or something where they can't have a paramedic on board or an advanced EMT or so forth, it's nice to have that variance on file if you need it. So I believe all the ASAs will be putting in an application for the variance on.
so what's the variance?
The variance is a variance from the rule where you have to have a paramedic basically on the ambulance. You know, when you go on certain type of runs, and they submit it to us, we approve it, and we send it on to OHA, and we get an approval from the state. So we've done it in years past for several of the ASAs. I think it's good practice for the EMS departments to get into a habit of making sure that they have that. Just makes things easier for them all the way around later on. It's an exemption basically for a lot of these rural EMS departments. So that should be going good. Tomorrow, of course, I've been working a lot with the DEQ and the EPA on this alkali lake subject. We will see what they have tomorrow in our discussion. I believe Jesse Price and a bunch of other folks will be coming down from soil remediation and they will be present at the meeting. I believe about 7 or 8 of them, different folks that'll be present. And then, of course, we'll have the individuals from the DEQ and EPA. I believe what they're pushing towards is having EPA take on Alkali Lake toxic waste site. And I think the push from my point of view is going to be towards site remediation and what dollars are available for reclaiming that site and doing some treatment, because I am concerned about the potential contamination of our aquifer. The site is above Abert Rim and many of the springs that feed Abert Lake. Excuse me, it's not above Abert Rim, it's above Abert Lake itself, because it goes all the way up. Towards the Hogback Road and everything else. I'm concerned because of earthquakes and so forth. I don't think that the DEQ has been doing their job in monitoring the site. They have not visited the site in several years, which in my opinion is a breach of their agreement that they would monitor. So if the EPA takes this on, the question is whether or not we will be able to get any better traction from the EPA than we have with the DEQ. But
And the EPA is the governing board of the DEQ, correct?
they're kind of the federal side of things. So we'll see what comes of it, and what the conversation will be like. But that's kind of an update of one of the things that I've been working on. No BOPTA appeals this year, which was good.
All right, well, we'll take a 5-minute break. Till 10 o'clock. Is Jim on today? That's weird. Jim's usually on.
No, I didn't see. Oh, he's camping. He's out in the woods. He's not going to be at tomorrow's thing either.
It's weird because he's kind of on the picture.
Can I tell him you said that?
Huh?
Can I tell him you said he was a permanent fixture?
Yeah.
I'm not gonna tell him now, I'll tell him when I see him. I'm texting Heidi. I do have a few other liaison updates.
You have another one?
Yeah, I got lots of liaisons. Do you have any?
Can't really talk about one of them right now.
No.
Did you guys want a reason?
Pardon me?
Did you want a reason?
Not yet. Is that the? Yeah, I'll tell you about it. The reason why I can't comment. It's exciting.
Did she respond to the email that you sent for?
And I even sent a receipt.
She says she's on her way.
All right, go ahead, let's resume and then James can continue on. Continue on with your update.
Okay. I was not approved for the BLM rack. They don't tell you why. There's been a number of people that were, but I apparently was denied. Spoke with Todd Forbes. It doesn't break my heart a whole lot, but it's interesting. So that I haven't
No,
received.
We don't have Lake County representative on the rack.
We do not have a Lake County commissioner on the rack. We have several Lake County residents who are on the rack. Tom Batty and Mary Jo Hedrick.
I don't know who that is.
She lives up in Summer Lake. She's a neighbor. And there's several other folks, I believe. Hardin County Judge Pete Reynolds, I believe he's on there, and a few other folks. So we'll just have to work through some of them, and make sure that everyone's aware of some of the issues. I just wanted that to highlight that, and maybe we'll remove that from my liaison list because I'm not a liaison to the RAC anymore.
I wonder what the deal is.
They don't tell you. They don't even tell the BLM. So I might be getting a letter at some point, but wanted to highlight that. Also, we've got a hay growers meeting coming up in Chris's Valley. Have you gotten those emails?
I'm quite a ways behind.
Oh, that's fine.
What is that?
I'm just pulling it up right here. It's on May 19th, and I believe Rep. Owens will be there.
So I get my eye surgery on the 12th, and so anything around that, I don't know.
Sure. We also have the OSU budget meeting is on the 19th also. So
What time is
there's
the
gonna be a
gate
conflict there. 8 o'clock in the morning, 8:30 or so.
Sounds better than late at night.
It is, but the budget meeting starts at 8 also here for OSU. So it's a little bit of a conflict there. I'm gonna work it out with Jeannie. Also the water master will be moving into this office here. Hey Heidi. I met with the Chihuahuan watershed folks yesterday. I was up there all morning in Paisley. They did an interview on some of the renewable energy projects that have been put in, like the Abraham, Crooked Creek, Winter Rim, and including the solar application up at on the BLM land in Fort Rock area, which, by the way, has also had a stay put into place by the applicant. So they're holding off on that application for now. I would imagine, just thinking that they may be looking at an alternative site on some different BLM land, so they might be looking at something else. So, but the water department is working hard on trying to, the water master, Matt Anderson, is working hard on trying to get up to speed on several different issues on Crane Creek and several of the other creeks down in this area. He will be moving into this office. We're gonna move his filing cabinets upstairs so he'll have access here, but we need to make sure that he has a key for this door, and they're still hunting down the appropriate key for this door. We didn't want to move anything in there until we had that all figured out. So that concludes my updates on that situation.
So. I had a question, but it just left me.
Oh.
What were you talking about before the war?
Energy.
Oh, so do you think that, they're wanting to put it on BLM so they don't have to pay the county?
No, I don't know that. I still to this day, I don't know what that will look like. No one can give me an answer as to what payments to the county will look like, if any. I'm not trying to get anyone's hopes up, but what they would look like if they come back in the form of a PILT or what. I think there still needs to be a per megawatt charge, whether it's on BLM or anything else. If it's in our county, I think there needs to be a payment, but it's going to be on federal land. I actually kind of, when speaking with Todd Forbes yesterday, I kind of pushed that if they were going to do an application on the BLM land, they do it out towards the backscatter site or out towards that kind of dead area south of the backscatter site across the Christmas Valley Highway.
On the south side of that?
Yep, on the south side of it. So, because I just think that's a much better area. I think the neighbors seem to be a little bit easier with kind of developed in that area. It's no AUMs are allowed. There's no wild horses or even jackrabbits really out in that area that I've ever seen. So I just said, that's a more appropriate place to put it than right amongst people's homes. So we'll see where that goes. So.
All right, Heidi.
Hi.
Heidi, how are ya?
Yes, my apologies.
No worries.
Didn't get the time on my calendar apparently.
So we've got several agreements in front of us.
Next second.
Second amendment to, I got a second amendment, I got a third amendment.
It appears with the Second Amendment, it's just kind of redistributing how the dollars are sent through, if I understand that correctly.
Okay.
So
My apologies. So this is for addiction treatment and recovery.
Well, which one do you wanna work on? You wanna work on the second
She
one?
brought up
The
second
second.
first, so.
So this is a total allocation of $50,727.
and so is that something new or in addition to that's being?
It seems like it on here because it's going from operating dollars of 0 to a status of 50,000, but I'm not seeing a chart on here of previous allocations. So, and they don't always provide that. And this is for financing of community mental health, addiction treatment, recovery and prevention, and problem gambling services effective of January 1 of this year.
And do you know, has that money been allocated, has it been put
I
up?
don't
Is that
know.
something that'll be
I
coming?
don't, we haven't signed this yet, so I would
Okay.
imagine not.
Probably not, okay, great.
Any other questions on the second amendment?
So I know Ann met with Troy yesterday, and Judy, the public health aspect of things.
Mhm.
And they were trying to go over the finances. I think Troy was trying to get things straight as far as what reporting requirements and everything he had to like just keep in mind. These are two that you might wanna just kind of bring by Troy also and make sure that they're on Troy's radar for the reporting requirements on his end. It's just on the mental health side.
Okay.
Well, I imagine anything that's
No, but just give
added financially or needs to be on there.
anything and everything, but make sure that these are on his radar basically, so he's prepared, you know, he's getting copies of these things. So,
I'm also meeting with Ed Keough tomorrow
okay,
as well, so I'll make sure
Okay.
he's aware too,
no,
of the financial stuff.
it's good. I think he was trying to like hand off a lot of things to Troy,
Okay.
at least on the reporting for mental health and public health.
Okay,
So,
okay.
but yeah, it definitely bring him in the loop if you can.
So the third amendment is actually under the same number, 173139 as the second amendment. But is for
I can't make heads or tails out of the exhibits sheet.
Yeah, these are a little hard to read.
I mean, when they put these things together, it always looks like they write it on a typewriter.
Mhm.
I don't, what is the total?
I'm not seeing it total. I see a reduction halfway down on residential, and I think that says mint, I think it's for mental health.
Okay.
And I think the dates read between January 1 and December 31st of 2022.
Mhm.
But there's a reduction there of 25,000. I don't know. That stands out to me just because, you know, I see a minus. I don't know if it's being added somewhere else. If we're seeing, you know, sometimes a lot of times these agreements, they'll have a reduction and then just kind of a rearrangement.
Mhm.
It's not a full reduction from the allocation, it's just they're moving dollars around.
Yeah. And that's what Charlie had kind of indicated, cause I did talk to Charlie about these and he said, yeah, they're just moving money around. I said, okay.
Yeah, well, and the 50,000, maybe this is part of that too, being that it's got the same number on it.
Uh-huh.
Maybe this is just a little bit more of a detailed list, but
On page 4, it kind of explains a little bit.
you see something on page 4.
It's for inflation.
Page 4 of 4.
See, I can hardly read this.
So it's services rendered for 26,000. Services elements 26, 27, 28, 30, and 34. So this is all services rendered, but it doesn't give us a total of what that is.
And maybe that'd be a question, is just to find out if these are reimbursements.
Services rendered, so I don't think it's reimbursements, it's for money that's already been in there.
Unless the service has been rendered, and then it would be all 300.
Yeah, so what I think it is the non-residential mental health. What I under, what it looks like.
There's a small piece right below that. This also says non-residential. But again, it doesn't give an actual like sum as the dollars coming in or what, and I guess maybe that'd be another thing, just to maybe see if we can get, if I can get an email from. I'm fine with approving these, I don't think that there's anything to really worry about, but it'd be nice to get something from Troy, if he could put this down.
Okay.
And find out exactly, what, okay, if they're moving money around, but where and what, because that sheet honestly is extremely difficult to read.
Yeah.
And it would really help us and just bring clarity to where the dollars are going and everything and how they're being administered. And I think it would help you too, because if they're taking dollars to stay away from non-residential treatment and they're putting it only towards, say, substance use disorder or whatever, then all of a sudden that changes how you can use those dollars.
Mhm.
But just want to make sure that we're following up on that.
Sounds good. I'll also be meeting with Amy Hutchinson this afternoon about our burn grant award.
Okay,
Did you hear about our
great, yes, I
burn grant
did, that's wonderful. But yeah, go ahead and give us an update if you'd like.
So we had requested 5.3 million and had a big, beautiful plan of what we want to do in our community. We were awarded 1.2 million. So we probably won't be able to buy the location that we originally had looked at to have a very large campus of services. But I think we can still accomplish a lot on a smaller scale. So at this point, what we first have to do is identify the location, where we're gonna put these services, since we won't be buying the property we previously looked at. So once we can determine where we're going to be, then we can start with the construction plans and build the facility that we need to then deliver services such as, we'll continue to deliver, the mental health and the addictions, but it'll put our team all in one building again, which we need desperately to be united. And we'll have a drop-in center, and we will have, we're still working on some kind of, don't know what we're gonna call it yet, whether it's gonna be like a respite or a warming station or a crisis stabilization, but we're going to find a way to allow people to come in off the street and be able to have a place to sleep for the night. And it'll be staffed, we'll have staff there. With the drop-in center, we'll be having a food program, so we'll be able to feed folks. And then we also, within the facility, we'll have showers and laundry facilities, so that, individuals who don't have access to that can come in, they can eat, they can get some rest, they can wash their clothes, they can take a shower and get cleaned up, and then they can, leave again and come back. It's not something that they have to be, they have to stay in there 24/7. It'll be a little bit more free-flowing. In addition to this, I know that we've been talking with Senator Merkley and Senator Wyden and hoping to get some federal dollars to help with more services here, because apparently kind of the big buzzword right now is a detox area. And so within this facility, we want to have a detox room or two. And the way I envision this is that someday when we have this all set up, we will have our office area, and then we'll have the entrance to the drop-in center and places to stay and the other facilities. And then also somewhere around the back where it's a little more private, we want to have a door where officers, for example, can bring in and drop people off who maybe are intoxicated and need to sober, or people who are in crisis, and they can bring them in and we can evaluate them. And then we'll have the detox areas, but we'll also have some kind of a hold room or a few hold rooms, and that way we can kind of remove that from the hospital so they don't have to worry about that. And we can also meet better requirements when we hold people, as in letting them go outside and get fresh air, which is one thing they can't do when they're in 107. So we would have it set up where the room would actually lead to an outdoor fenced area where they can get, fresh air and sunshine, in the good weather. But be secured, for their safety until we can get them in front of the judge and, see if we need them civilly committed, or, have them be there for a few days, and if they get stabilized, take medication, then we can, move them out of there. And then again, if they don't have a place to stay, we would have that, crisis stabilization warming center, whatever we're going to call it, where then they can stay, they can remain there. And so these are some of the, vision that I have for that. With the drop-in center, of course, we'll have our peer support workers, we'll have our certified recovery mentors. So they'll have staff, they'll have peers that individuals can talk to, and sometimes that's what it takes to maybe get them into services. If they aren't already in services, their peers can really encourage them to seek out the help that they need. And for those that are in services, it gives them a place to come and socialize and not be so isolated, which I think is very important for our population. It's not good for them to just kind of sit around the house, or if they don't have a house, to just roam the streets. We would have a location where they can come, get a cup of coffee, get a sandwich, socialize with others, have peers there, and have staff to help support them with whatever they're struggling with. And then, again, if they don't have a place to stay, they'd be able to stay there the night. And it would just be kind of on a daily, as needed basis.
Any questions? Sure.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Appreciate it. Alright. No, I have nothing else.
So with that, we'll adjourn the meeting at 10.
Thank you. See ya.
I will see you in Silver Lake tomorrow.
Yep. We should get a fairly good turnout, I believe, in Silver Lake.
Usually in Silver Lake, we do.
And Keith said that he'd have the fire hall all cleaned up for us today.
I'm sure it's probably pretty good. It's a pretty nice fire hall. Just can't find lunch. Calling into that yet.
No, I haven't gone that far. He does owe me lunch though.